Kevin, help me here with the seriousness of the Ninth Circuit Court, Washington and Minnesota pushing against the Department of Justice and the president. What should we look for this afternoon as they go through the appeals process before a presumed Supreme Court decision?
Tom, I think you're going to see what we saw over the weekend, and that is that this White House is going to come at the judges full force. We saw this, of course, with President Trump's tweet over the weekend, alluding to the quote-unquote so-called judge. This White House feels that they are completely within their power in executing the authority of the president to carry out the executive order against immigration. But behind the scenes, privately, I can tell you that over the weekend, I was speaking with several Republican Capitol Hill aides who were a bit uneasy about the president's language on Twitter. Look today for briefing with Sean Spicer about the 2 o'clock p.m. hour aboard Air Force One when they're heading back from Florida to see just exactly what approach this administration is going to take at around the same time that this ruling is scheduled to hit.
Kevin, Mitch McConnell seems to be distancing himself from the latest controversy from Donald Trump. What does it mean inside the GOP?
The Senate has its work cut out for it, simply because I think right now you've seen other senators who are being led by Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, people like people particularly along the Betsy DeVos hearing. You're seeing potentially Republicans in the Senate begin to peel back and break away from the president's support. Now, of course, the House has been much more strong, but on the issue, for example, of the border adjustment tax, that battle is going to play out directly in the Senate. And Mitch McConnell, while he hasn't been as outspoken, Francine, as Speaker Paul Ryan in the House, he is, of course, pulling some strings behind the scenes. And all of the bigger, larger wonk fights are going to play out in the Senate.
Kevin, when does the Trump immigration ban actually go to the Supreme Court, if it goes to the Supreme Court? And if there's an overturn of the ruling, how complicated is it for tourists? I mean, how are people taking it in the U.S.?
Well, I think it's a pretty divisive issue. I think that Republicans have largely supported it. There are some polls, a Morning Consult poll has 49% of the American public supports this. They don't support the rhetoric surrounding it, but they support the actual policy. Obviously, progressives and Democrats are vehemently opposed to this. Later on Capitol Hill today, Democrats will again speak out against this. But in terms of Supreme Court, Francine, we've got to make it through this first circuit round case, and then, of course, it'll make its way up the chain.